A very active weather pattern as we close out October and get into November. Welcome to the Daily Shower. I'm Matt Makins. In this Daily Shower, we're going to be focusing on the first few days of November. Big time impactor is going to be coming through. So grab your calendar. There's November 2022. Let's highlight days Friday the 4th, Saturday the 5th, and also Sunday the 6th. Big impact. We'll be focusing on those days. Normally at this moment, I beg you to subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. But really, I appreciate the community that's been growing and growing so quickly here. If you haven't noticed, the feedback that you're leaving me is being incorporated into these daily showers to make them better, to make the content more understandable or relatable or include your areas. So keep that feedback coming. I greatly appreciate it. The only reason I'm doing this is for you. I'm not sitting around watching myself. It's a waste of my time if that's all I was doing. So I'm trying to help you guys out with the weather. And what are those hazards? Well, across the country, we have all of these hazards, including heavy precip, strong winds, areas of heavy snowfall, much below average temperatures. So let's break this down kind of by group, if you will, as we take a look here with mostly the temperatures and the wind. So much below average temperatures cover most of the Great Basin, most of the West, and then very strong wind for the Pacific coast, mostly the northern coast, stretching from Washington down into northern California. Strong wind gusts are going to be possible across the plains as well. There will be a risk of severe thunderstorms creating some of this wind in addition to some areas of strong wind gusts. Now let's focus on the next breakout, and that's going to be heavy rainfall for the Pacific Northwest. Areas of heavy snowfall stretch from the Cascades down into the Sierras, and also areas of the Rocky Mountains have the potential for very heavy snowfall as we get into those late days of next week, the 4th, 5th, and 6th. As we talked about. Let's watch what happens. Very strong push of cold air comes in across the Western U.S. You could see it there on the animation. That'll replay a couple of times here, but there comes that push of temperatures moving in. Now with this, we're going to be looking at average temperatures of 15 to 20 degrees below average. That's kind of the overall. So about 15, 20 degrees colder than average. Some areas are going to be downright cold and will have a much sharper temperature drop than that, especially throughout the Great Basin and sections of the Rockies. And that cold air is going to spread out to the east as well. But the biggest impact for the next 2 weeks is going to be right here across the Western U.S. for those temperatures. Rainfall. Now we're going to have this total precip on the map for now, and then I'll break out the snow later. But total precipitation, a couple of areas grab my attention and probably yours as well. Here down across the central and southern Mississippi, we have areas of heavy rainfall, and that will cover parts of Texas too. There's Dallas and Houston with some higher totals pushing over 2 inches. For central and southern Mississippi, that may help the Mississippi River issues, but as you look north, where all the drought is and in some cases record low stream flow for the tributaries and also the Mississippi River itself, the water issue there, the river issues will continue sadly. As you look off to the west, that's the secondary area that grabs my attention. And we're looking especially in the Pacific Northwest, and then these pockets here throughout the mountains grab my attention. And a lot of cases we're going to be looking at some pretty severe rainfall that's going to come in very heavily. Closer look at that. We're going to start off with British Columbia. Here's Washington and Oregon. Portland, Seattle, and then on up into coastal British Columbia. See these yellow shades? That's representing over a foot of rainfall. 1 to 2 feet of rainfall possible over the next 10 days across the Pacific Northwest. Really a surge focusing on the dates that we're talking about in this daily shower. Let's broaden that view a little bit. We were focused right here on that last image, but that rainfall goes all the way up to Juneau, Alaska. A lot of the Rockies here from British Columbia to Alberta picking up some pretty hefty precip as well. We'll talk about snow in just a second. Let's take a look at Colorado for estimated precip on the way. The plains will catch some water, and the high country will catch some water as well. In some of these cases, 2.5, 3 inches, and that's down here near Silverton and Creede, and into the northwest as well, around the flat tops and close to Steamboat Springs. Why is Colorado's precip so important? The Colorado River. We've got to help the other river system, not just the Mississippi, the Colorado River system. Remember, we got to fill Lake Mead and all the other reservoirs. This water is going to do quite a bit to help in that effort, and it's going to come as a lot of snowfall. Let's talk about snowfall now. So all these maps I'm about to show you are talking snow. As you look out to the northwest and throughout sections of Canada, we have some of these bands of some higher snowfall totals. So let's take a closer look here. As we look at British Columbia and down to the south, these are the Rockies here. So Banff, for an example. We're going to be having some of these totals. See these yellow shades on the map? That's more than 34 inches. So we're talking about 3 feet of snowfall possible from the Rockies there in Canada on down to the south. Sections of the mountains around Idaho and the state line with Montana may pick up about 3 feet of snowfall as well. As we go farther down to the south, here we have Salt Lake City and down to the south. Here we have Colorado and some of the Rocky Mountains. We're kind of pushing 2 to 3 feet in these cases. And again, it's focusing on those 3 days in November we highlighted. Down to the south, even areas of New Mexico and Arizona can pick up some very heavy snowfall. This is great from a reservoir standpoint. Snow is Mother Nature's reservoir. If we can melt it properly and save it properly, this will help the Colorado River Basin and some of the reservoirs, at least to some degree. We need a lot more activity like this throughout the winter to obviously make those changes, and I addressed that in a couple of other videos, including the winter weather outlook and the mega drought video I posted earlier. And finally, wind. Very strong winds possible across the country, kind of focusing on the plains, mostly the Great Plains, the northern high plains. And as we take a closer look here, we have British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, down into Montana, and offshore of the Pacific Northwest, we have these areas of winds easily over 50 miles an hour. We'll have wind gusts much stronger than that. And these pockets of winds will go throughout Wyoming, South Dakota, and northern Nebraska too. So a lot is going on as we kick off November. So those are the headlines that you need to watch out for. Big stuff coming in. I'm Matt Makins. We'll see you on the next Daily Shower.